In my many years of, well, it's almost, maybe it's, no, it's not quite yet. I'm just doing some math internally on the fly. I was still a financial advisor longer than I've been a podcaster. So I'll say that. But for many years, when I met with clients who were age 60 or 65, the people who had put extra money into superannuation, just on a monthly basis, not flashy investing, didn't have multiple properties, they never regretted it. And they usually got to that age with so much superannuation. And it wasn't, no one ever said to me, I wish I put less in super and lived a bit more, because it was just a little bit. And I'll always talk about it because it's such a big part of our life. And today we are joined by Rachelle Kroon from the This Is Property podcast. Welcome, Rach.
Thank you.
Like, have you met anyone when they've got to age 60 who regrets investing?
Oh, absolutely not. Especially not in super.
Yeah. But so I think it's this whole thing where I tell people, you've just got to live on less than what you earn and invest the rest. And if you, and the problem is, like, the people who listen to this podcast, they are so dialed in with their money anyway. But if you're a casual observer and you've stumbled into this clip on YouTube, yeah, I'm in my country era, I've got my Kubra on today. But if you are that casual observer and you don't like budgeting, if you just got an investment property and did P&I repayments and stayed out of consumer debt, awesome. If you just did salary sacrifice to super and stayed out of consumer debt, you would be on balance for your life, living on less than you earn and investing the rest. And you could have the most sloppy system. You reckon?
Yeah, I agree.
Are you laughing at my hat?
No.
Okay.
I love your hat.
Good. It's the crocodile one. It is not vegan friendly. So all that to say, if you were sloppy and lazy and just did one of those things, or just set up an ETF account or something in your own name, forget, super for that. Sure, you'll be living less than you earn on balance for a long period of time. You will crush it. That's not to say that you won't get a better outcome by doing a budget and spending plan.
Yeah.
But if you want to be really sloppy, keep to the fundamentals of I live on less than I earn, I keep out of consumer debt, and I invest the rest. But in the Facebook book group, whatever, and if you want to join, just say you heard Glen on the podcast with Rach, and if you're on YouTube, he was wearing a dumb hat. Michelle said, can someone tell me what is better, salary sacrifice or personal contributions? At the end of the financial year, does it make a difference tax-wise? So the straight answer is no, it doesn't make any difference, provided that you complete a notice of intent to claim with your super fund at the end or during the financial year when you've stopped. So if you've put 10 grand in February, and you're not going to put any other personal contributions in, you could do an intent to claim form. Tell the super fund, I intend to claim that $10,000 personal contribution on my tax. They'll take the 15% off, or $1,500. Then when you do your tax return, you'll claim that $10,000 as an expense, or it will come off your income. Okay. Or at the end of the financial year when you're finished, do that before you do your tax return. Now, effectively, they both end up the same way, whether you're salary sacrificing each week, or if at the end of the year you put a lump sum in, or throughout the year you drip feed money yourself. As long as you do the intent to claim form, and as long as you then tell your accountant, or if you're doing your own tax, you can claim that amount on tax. So the tax wash-up is exactly the same.
Hi, lovely money community. I have a question that I need help answering, and I know everyone here is so supportive and helpful. So I'm hoping you can help me out. I'm salary sacrificing to my super at the moment with the intention of beefing it up and reducing my taxable income. I have some large concessional contribution caps that I can carry forward. I also have a large HEX debt, roughly $100,000, that I'm basically ignoring because it seems unachievable to ever pay it off. I have all my bases covered, emergency fund, all bills budgeted for, consistently contribute to investment platform, a positively geared investment property. Further context, I live with my mum and pay minimal board. I don't have a property to live in yet. I'm trying to settle a discussion with someone regarding paying off HEX versus salary sacrificing to super. Which one is more financially beneficial? I've always thought it was best to not really worry about HEX, but now I'm spooked.
Yeah, what are you saying to Emma?
Yeah, look, that $100,000 HEX debt can seem unachievable sometimes. And I guess knowing that it's a percentage of your income that pays it down, I can see why you'd want to invest elsewhere as well.
Yeah, I see this, and we don't need to camp here long, but I see this maybe a little bit different than the average bear. So she's trying to convince a friend and all that, right?
Yeah.
This has all got to do, and I'm about to actually do a mini episode on this because I like to talk about this once a year. This has all got to do with tactics versus strategy. Now, we can find ourselves getting in an argument around tactics. Step back, and this is with any topic in personal finance, you have to have your own strategy, and then within that strategy, you'll make tactical choices along the way based on your situation. So when you're trying to convince a friend or whatever, what did they say here? I'm trying to settle discussion with someone. I think I'm on the view in this situation, you've got a good strategy. Your strategy's humming along fine as it is. I'm probably leaving the HEX and help debt and let that taper off itself.
Yeah, especially the financial position that you're in overall.
Yeah.
That's pretty epic, Emma.
Yeah. So a couple of things, and this does tie into the first question from Michelle. If you do have, and regardless of what Emma ends up doing, I think I just want to park that. I'm probably, if I woke up in Emma's position, I'm probably keeping the help debt as it is, and that can just, hum along. When it comes to salary sacrifice and personal contribution, so if, Rach, you woke up and was like, I'm going to tell my employer that I'm going to salary sacrifice $200 a week into super, awesome, get on with my life. That is cool, but if you had HEX or help debt, there can be a bit of dickery and annoyance because your employer withholds less tax because they are only paying you based on what isn't going to super. And then at the end of the financial year, the additional contributions into super are called reportable superannuation contributions.
Yeah.
And they get back added to your tax return. So that's when you'll have a tax bill.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So your SG employer contributions, they are non-reportable superannuation contributions. Salary sacrifice are reportable. So if you want to make salary sacrifice contributions to superannuation and you have HEX or help debt, my personal view, unless you're really good with money and you can really stomach a tax bill at the end of the year, do it monthly from your own personal bank account. Then you'll get a tax return or a refund. You won't get the tax bill because your employer is withholding the right amount of tax.
There's nothing worse than a tax bill.
Nothing. Maybe some idiot in a Cobra. But what I would say as well, similarly, if I'm self-employed, I would look at, in June, making the call of how much to put into super as a personal contribution. Just because, you might have different cash flow issues or throughout the year. And likewise, Michelle, you might have a mortgage with an offset account. There's no harm in accruing money on the offset, and at the end of the year in June, make a judgment call. Yeah, we're going to put 10 grand into super, claim it on tax. Throughout the year, you've paid less interest out of super, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So there you have it. Any final comments on that before we start the show?
Yeah, it can be so hard to part with your money today to put into super. And I have that meeting with my accountant every June where we sit down and I get told to put some money in super, and this is what it would look like in super, and this is what it would look like if you hold it out. And it's hard for me to part with it because I know how long it is, but I do know that I'm not going to regret it when I'm 60.
One of my mantras is you've got to do the you of a favour. Sorry, I'm having a stroke, guys. You've got to do the you of tomorrow a favour today. So, but you've got to balance that with living in the now.
Yep.
So it's always going to be this tension in personal finance with super or not super and all that stuff. Anyway, this episode is brought to you by Sphere Home Loans. We've got the director and founder, Rachelle Kroon, in the hot seat today. You guys, at the time of recording, it's the end of August. We've just had the first home buyer thing brought forward, the first home guarantee scheme. And that is one scheme for first home buyers. You must use a mortgage broker. Like, sure, if you want to run along and buy a house or an investment property and you're not a first home buyer, knock yourself out. Walk into the shopping centre and line up at a teller. Knock yourself out. But if you're a first home buyer, please see a mortgage broker, and Sphere Home Loans is one of them. The reason that you have to see a mortgage broker is not every lender does the government guarantee. Not every lender has the same criteria and lending rules that will match up to your situation. So thank you to Sphere Home Loans and Rach for supporting this podcast. Let's get it on. Before we get into it, this show is general advice only, and I've got a license to provide that advice. Full details can be found in the show notes. I'm a former financial advisor. Now I do the Money, Money, Money podcast. If you're a regular here, we call it M3, and we do a podcast called Retire Right. I've got a book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, is available wherever good books are sold. There's a link in the show notes if you want to turn up your investing to 11 or if you're just getting started. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here today. Alrighty then. I don't think we've got any housekeeping today other than we now sell our books direct. You can go to the website, moneypodcast.com.au, click store. You can buy our books, Quick Start Guide to Investing. Rach, you are writing a book.
I am.
You are.
I am not up to date.
But, and Rach is going to tie into the Quick Start Guide to Investing. And what are we calling it? The Quick Start Guide to Your First Property. Your first property,
not your first home, because it could be an investment or your own home.
So there you have it. So stay alert and alarmed for that. You know, they say, don't be alarmed, be alert. No, be alarmed, everyone. Rachel's writing a book. And we've done that survey to a heap of people. We've got a heap of feedback. We may reach out to you. And yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for everyone who filled that out too. I spent the weekend reading all of those comments. And
were there any themes that you saw?
Just the things that people wish they knew and what their pressure points were when they bought their first home. Sometimes you forget the emotions that people go through.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth? All right. I had someone, and I don't usually, well, I kind of do. Someone messaged me in my personal name on Facebook and put an anonymous thing for the podcast or group. One, I don't respond to anyone in that chat unless I'm interested. Nah, joke. I've just got a blanket rule. I've keep work stuff separate from my Glen James inbox. And I'm like, I will talk about this because I think it's, I don't know, there's a bit to it. Do you want to read that from Anonymous?
Yeah.
You're a better reader than I am.
Large lump sums, in this case, a legal abuse compensation payout, but could easily also apply to inheritance or lotto win. There are often stories of lotto winners blowing through money in a year or a few, inheritance hard-earned by a loved one whittled away quickly. I have a friend who might soon get a large compensation sum from a court case involving several types of abuse that happened under the care of an organisation. As a result, she has significant trauma, including resulting in addictions and a low-level acquired brain injury.
Yikes.
What general advice can you give about what options people in this situation might have to be supported to manage money? Obviously a financial advisor, but also consider parking some of the funds in an ETF, some to get a small unit, some in a trust that gives out a small amount each week as a pay. Can a trusted friend or family member help manage the funds? And how can I help so she's protected from people taking advantage of her? What kind of impact might a large sum payout have on her disability payments?
Look, a lot there. Basically, I wrote down what is large. Okay, so in somebody's world, $50,000 this hat is large. Sometimes $50,000 is a large payment. It could be $500,000. It could be $1 million. So I think that needs to be considered there. My next kind of comments would be there's addiction issues and a low-level acquired brain injury. The question needs to be, is this person able to act on their own?
Yeah.
Or do they need some type of power of attorney? Now, you could go to a solicitor, but generally speaking, and this is state-based stuff, if somebody loses, what's the definition?
The ability to make their own decisions?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like that Latin compos mentis.
Yes.
So if somebody is not, compos mentis, usually a state-based trustee would step in and manage that. So if the person is of sound mind and can make their own decisions, you need to go to a solicitor with that person. And one, does the person want help? That's also a big thing, right? Yeah. Does the person want help? And maybe they've asked this friend. So then if the person is of sound mind and all that, they might be like, look, I can't trust myself. I make poor choices. And we actually talked on the retirement podcast about a case study of someone that I know in my world where they married somebody and had a low-level brain injury and just they're of a sound mind, but the executive function wasn't there, and married this person. Within 10 minutes, the relationship ended, and he'd put the house in her name, and she took advantage of this person's property. Anyway, wild story. So, one, we can look at getting a power of attorney. Now, I've got on my life a full power of attorney. My best friend, Tim, is my full power of attorney because I wanted him to do any financial stuff if I have a brain injury or whatnot, and my family do the medical stuff. So we can look at that. The state-based trustee services, I had a client once who she moved into a nursing home. The sole son wasn't power of attorney, but he was the contact or the manager, quote unquote, and everything had to be run by the trustee's office. It just becomes a mess. So that's what you've got to work out there, probably before a financial advisor, I would think. So it's a thing with a solicitor as your first port of call. Go and see a solicitor with your friend and that's really valid. Like and the example that I used with a friend's dad who got taken advantage of, it's funny, you can't legislate out in terms of the law stupidity. Like as much as you'd have rules and all that, people make dumb decisions.
Yeah.
Whether it's a brain injury or it's really hard to stop people making dumb decisions if they're of sound mind. So the question is, when this person might be like, Leah, I can't trust myself, I want somebody to manage that, okay? That's number one. I'm probably then going, when the questioner said, but also consider parking some of the funds in an ETF. I don't think we park money in investments. We park money in bank accounts. We invest money in investments because the word park means I've come in, going to go in, do some shopping, come back out and leave the park, right? Or some to get a small unit. When we look at general life vibe, and I don't think this person from what I'm reading, is significantly carrying a disability, maybe a low-level brain injury. I don't know what that definition is. There might be a medical definition. I think the best thing that any human can do is have a house that they own, because it just provides so much certainty. So I'd be like, well, if there's enough money to buy a unit outright, go for it. Vanilla, and if there needs to be a small mortgage on there. Actually, there's a question for you, Rach. If somebody was on a disability support pension, could a small mortgage, can that still be used for mortgage servicing, or is it gets wild pretty fast?
It might. Generally, they don't want that to be the sole income. So, but I'm sure there'd be. Let's say you're buying a unit for $500,000 and they needed a $50,000 loan. There might be a lender that would make an exception because it was so small and such a small percentage. But their general rules are they don't like it to be just a pension as the only income. But it could be possible.
Right. Okay. So I would rather this person have a small $50,000 or $100,000 manageable mortgage that didn't have a redraw and just vanilla than renting somewhere with the uncertainty, access to money and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was in a trust that gives a small amount each week as pay. I'll come back to that. Can a trusted friend or family member help manage the funds? Absolutely, but you'd probably want to have a power of attorney on this person. I'd suspect if they're able to make that call. How can I help? She's protected from people taking advantage of her. Okay, this is an interesting thing, Rach. If someone was of sound mind, we can still get taken advantage of. That speaks to having good friends and people in your life that you can bounce things off.
Yeah.
So it could be like, hey, I've just started seeing this person. Here's the vibe. What do you think? Or this person's asked me to, and the second half of this episode, it was just actually a coincidence. When I was planning, we're going to talk about scams. It's like, hey, do you think this is a thing? It's all about having, and it's not always possible to have good people in our world.
That's right. But I guess if those funds were in a property and they bought that property outright, like you said, it's the safest thing to have. It's a whole lot harder to get taken advantage of if you don't have that cash sitting around, if it's in that kind of asset, wouldn't you think?
Well, but almost like my friend's dad, he had the house and he put it in her name, because she was like, I'll protect you. Like she was the savior from his brain. Like it was just messy.
Hard.
But it just speaks to having good people like this questioner in this person's life.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, again, you can't legislate out stupidity and you can't stop people doing dumb things. But that's why it's so important if you've got good people in your world that you can say, hey, this is happening. What do you think?
Yeah.
The other thing that could, and again, depending on the situation and the nature of the disability, there's a thing called a special disability trust. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
So a special disability trust, I will read some stuff here just to give everyone a bit of an overview. Special disability trusts can help people plan the future and care and accommodation needs of a family member with a severe disability. Ensuring a family member with a disability has appropriate financial assistance is a key concern for parents and immediate family members. A way of providing peace of mind and financial assistance may be to set up a special disability trust. They are concessionally treated for Social Security, aged care and tax purposes if certain conditions are met. So basically, the structure of these, so a normal run-of-the-mill trust, you might have discretionary beneficiaries. There might be a primary beneficiary, secondary, or discretionary. A unit trust, whoever holds units gets the benefit.
Yeah.
A special disability trust, there has to be one beneficiary only.
Yeah.
Okay. So I won't go, they must be the only beneficiary. They they can only receive an entitlement from the trust after the principal residual beneficiaries can receive money in the event of the principal beneficiary's death. So all that to say, and if you are interested in this, because I don't want to, this is like a 1 or 2%er thing. I don't want to bore people with it. But if I'd say to the questioner, just Google Services Australia Special Disability Trusts, Google ATO Special Disability Trust, and I'll just read quickly. Oh, I've lost my page. There are some. Either way, here we go. There's 3 definitions with Services Australia of like the criteria to have the assets concessionally looked at by Centrelink and the tax office. A person who has reached 16 years of age and all of the following apply, whose level of impairment would qualify for a person for the disability support pension, or who is already receiving a DVA pension, who has a disability that would, if the person had a sole carer, qualify for the carer payment. Now, this person said they're on disability payments.
Yeah.
So they do tick the box. And then who has a disability and is unable to work more than 7 hours a week in an open labour market. There is 2 other definitions, and then there's one for a child as well.
Okay.
So that could be potentially of use. There'd be a trustee. The money's in a special disability trust for the benefit of looking after the person. But this all comes back to, we're probably not doing that if it's $50,000. We might not be doing that if it's $500,000, unless, and this is the kicker, everyone, can the special disability trust buy the house for the person to live in?
Okay.
Because then that would protect things like my friend's dad being taken advantage of. So this is where, yes, you would go to a financial advisor to chat about this, but my first stop would be a solicitor. So, yeah, that's it. But it all goes back to how much is the money?
Yeah. And I don't know the answer to this. Is with disability payments, is it like the aged pension where your own home doesn't come into being factored into it?
Yeah, it's all. So most of Centrelink rules are the same-ish.
Yep.
Okay. And I mean, I want to move away from this question now because we are going into ground where I know enough to be dangerous and I'm not a solicitor. I'm not an aged care specialist. I'm barely anything at the moment. And we just want to have a bit of this podcast. If you are new, I like to call it infotainment. We want to entertain you and give you some information and encouragement along the way. So that's what we're doing here. But thank you for writing in. Again, like if there was $2 million settlement, absolutely. Let's set up a special disability trust. Let's get a trustee. Let's have the trust buy a house for the person to live in. I don't even know if you can buy a house in a special disability trust. I'd imagine you could because it's of the benefit of the person. But this is, and particularly people that are listening with children who meet the definition of, so definition 3 with Services Australia, a child who is younger than 16 who both is a person with a severe disability or severe medical condition, has a carer who has been given a qualifying rating of intense under the disability care load assessment child determination for caring for that person. The child must also have a treating health professional certifying in writing that because of the disability or condition, either the person will need personal care for 6 months or more, or the personal care is required to be provided by a specified number of persons. So, yeah, special disability trusts, They're a great tool to cater for wealth for those who have a disability.
Yeah, I did not know that.
We'll be back right after this.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au. And they'll point you in the right direction.
Right, we are back. I haven't got my glasses on. How long have we been going for, Rach? 30 minutes. Awesome. I took my glasses off, guys, because they just didn't match the hat. And I looked over at the timer and I couldn't see, but we survived. Okay. Maddie, who is a friend of the show, she is in the Facebook group. She put up, can everyone tell me a story of when they got scammed? I got scammed $2,000 and want to make myself feel better. And she said, I moved overseas to Canada and paid a security deposit plus 1 month rent. And it turns out the property management thing was a total scam.
Oh, no.
So in true community form, this podcast is for you who, listen once a week. We're going to read a heap of things that happen to people, real life scams that you may be able to learn from. We might make some commentary along the way. And I'll start by saying, Rach, have you ever been scammed financially?
I have been scammed financially.
I'll buy it.
I bought a car when I was young and I wanted to do it without the help of any of my family. And I went and bought a car from somebody without doing the relevant checks, and it had been a repairable write-off. So I ended up paying top dollar for it and selling it for next to nothing.
Wow. Yeah. And there's a national scheme. It's called the Personal Securities something register. It's like the PSSR or something. Any car that you buy, you can go onto that. It's a government website, pay $2 and it'll give you a report to see if there's finance on it or if it is had previously been a write-off.
Yes, no, my brother pointed that out to me after I made the error. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's why we're all learning from everyone's, we won't say mistakes, we'll say mishaps. I got scammed a few weeks ago because I was looking for a desk for Ryan before he started.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was looking on Marketplace because I buy a lot of furniture on Marketplace because it's so cheap.
Yeah.
Brand new furniture isn't generally the top of my values list when it comes to spending money.
Yep.
It's ethical. Well, it's not about the planet. It's about the money. Let's be clear. Anyway, couldn't find one on Marketplace. And then one of the ads on Marketplace was these desks. It was the perfect size, perfect color, and knew they were like $700 plus delivery from IKEA and all that. I was like, I just don't want to spend that much on a desk. And this was only $229 delivered. So I'm like, yeah. And in the back of my mind, because I think a lot of the times that I've been done, it's because I've been distracted and rushed. So I did it. Sweet, done. Text friend, hey, got a desk for, $230 delivered. It never came. Replied to then I opened the order email and it was a Gmail account. I'm like, great, here we go. And the website was down, their Facebook. Anyway, it was just a scam, and they set these companies up and take people's money. They probably do it for a good week or so and close everything down. But thankfully, Officeworks saw the reel I did on it and gave me a desk. So thank you, Officeworks.
Win.
Yeah. All right. Let's read through some of these one for one. Do you want to go first?
Okay, so Mitchie says, I had a card transaction for $300 at a pizza shop in California. I'm in New South Wales and I've never left Australia.
I replied to that. Was it yum? Zoe, I lost $1,000 from a pay ID scam on Marketplace a few years ago. Dumbest stuff ever. You're so not alone, Maddie. So when there's going to be a few here on Marketplace, rule of thumb, if someone asks you for the email address for the pay ID so they can pay you or whatever, do not give it. Number one, pay ID works usually with a mobile phone in Australia. Two, it's literally, if you want to buy this, come and have a look at it. And three, if you are buying from someone and they're getting all like, oh, send me a deposit and all that, nope, I'll come and look at it first. And, yeah, there are a lot of scams on Marketplace.
And they're not stuck out on an oil rig.
No. Yeah, that's a common one. My uncle's I'm sending my cousin out to look at the car because he's on an oil rig for 6 weeks.
Sally says, paid a few $100 deposit for a sauna on Marketplace via bank transfer to secure it before pickup on the weekend, and then proof the ad and the person's profile was gone. Should have realised it was too good to be true as they had it listed for a really low price, was all fake.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, Marketplace is the Wild West. We're not doing deposits. We're not doing all that. Claire, a colleague of mine lost $125K for a settlement payment on the house she was purchasing. The scammer managed to intercept the emails between her and the conveyancer and provided a different account number but similar account name. Absolutely devastating. She'd gone into the branch to make the payment and discrepancy in account name wasn't picked up. She's still fighting with ANZ to get the dollars back. I had that, a friend of mine, had happened to him as well, maybe 8 years ago or so. They lost $450,000 in that deposit. And that's why anything to do with your conveyancer, lawyers, financial advisors, any professional services firms, please call them and clarify verbally the account details.
Absolutely. We're actually seeing a lot of this at the moment where the emails getting hacked from the solicitor.
Yeah.
And it's not them. But where they're saying they're still fighting ANZ, you see the bank actually don't have any
well, it's not
error
there.
here because you transferred the money to the wrong account, and you've really got to, I would say, to check on the phone for every single transaction you're doing for property at the moment.
Yeah.
It's getting a lot worse.
Anything, yeah.
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 Mitch says $40,000, don't stress, it can happen. Just have to learn from it.
How did you get scammed $40K, I wonder? Rebecca, those who've been scammed, I know you might feel embarrassed or silly, but you are literally a victim and it can happen to anyone. Scammers are intelligent these days, and by nature, we always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. That's right, Rebecca.
It is.
I feel like I'm the money guy and I got scammed. It's crazy. I probably am a bit dumb, but you know what I mean? I'm just so fast and loose. It happens to me because I rush stuff. I'm not – anyway.
James says threw $7,000 into a crypto coin that my mates swore was going to the moon.
Yeah, I bet.
Was worth about $9K within 24 hours.
Yeah,
now
baby.
It's worth 17 cents. Good lesson. Bit more expensive than I would have liked. Never invest in something you know nothing about. Keep getting multiple follow requests from some bird, supposedly from Samsung. Felt like a bit of fun one day, so I played along. Eventually got old mate to admit he was a Sudanese kid. Long story. So in all, I was still scammed the $100. That's the only scam I've fallen for so far that I'm aware of.
Right, okay. So James, crypto wasn't a scam. It was probably just a dumb money decision. But yeah, getting the text from some bird from Samsung that was a Sudanese kid. Gosh, so crazy. Stacey, I haven't been, but I just watched The Beekeeper on Netflix. Looked it up and I highly recommend it. It's about a guy taking revenge on scammers.
Ooh, I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, I might do that the same.
Tracy, on a local Facebook page, a company was selling meat. I did a bank transfer of $300. The company suddenly disappeared.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, definitely want to meet up with someone before you...
Transfer?
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Odit. Sorry if I haven't pronounced your name. It's one of my failures as a human. I sent $150 to a mate for lunch, and a couple of days later he told me that he had closed that account. Okay, not really a scam, but we'll read on. I contacted the bank, Big Four, and they pretty much told me after a week-long investigation that they had decided they didn't have to pay it back to me. Nah, that's wrong. So if I had a bank account and I closed that account, have you checked, Odit, that the money didn't bounce back to you?
Yeah, because if it is closed, generally it does do a bounce back.
It does a bounce back. There's something going on there.
I think your friend has a
gambling problem. I sent $100 for a lunch, a couple of days later he told me that he closed that account. Yeah, that's odd.
It is odd. Hannah says just after...
And I'm not victim shaming people.
No.
Just out here.
Just after I moved overseas, and thank God I had informed the bank, a Western Union money transfer was put through on my credit card for $5,000. Got it all back from the bank, but it made me wonder, how does this kind of thing happen in the first place?
Yeah, so generally what happens when people get credit cards like old mate who had the pizza in America or whatever, if you go to a website and you've purchased something, if they still carry your credit card details, their business gets hacked and the data gets stolen from that company.
Okay.
Where I think it's probably better when you're buying stuff online with like Stripe. So, for example, if someone goes to our website and buys a shirt off me and books and whatnot, I don't actually see the details because I can log into Stripe. I can see your name. I can see your email address. I can only see the last 4 digits of the credit card. So I can't, if someone buys something from us, I don't know their credit card number.
Yeah,
it just shows MasterCard last 4 digits.
I thought they mainly did that now with only the last 4 digits.
Yeah, but there could be some type of websites that, or maybe a company that you've signed up for 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because you know what? This is crazy. That sometimes with your credit card, once the expiry date's passed, some merchants can still use that card.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
Yeah. I've got something on something that I pay for at the moment. It's used an old card because the number's still the same.
Yeah.
But the expiry date's different. So it doesn't mean the card necessarily stops.
Okay.
Marie, what is herb? Not a scam per se, but I went overseas earlier this year for 3 weeks and came home to discover that $5,000 worth of goods stolen by my housemate and her boyfriend. What?
Oh.
Discovered later that debt collectors were chasing her and she was overdue on rent. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God, especially having someone in your own home that has deceived you.
Oh, you'd have to press charges, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like if you knew that they stole from you, not much of a housemate, more of a house loser.
Susie says, scammed by a fake fence company, a little under $2,000.
Wow.
Awful.
Wow. And if you are on the New South Wales Central Coast, I've done this a couple of times. I said I'd run ads on the podcast, but I can't be bothered. Inspired property ideas at Berkeley Vale. Speak to Wally if you need any fencing done. He did the custom grid in here, the lighting grid, because he's a metal fabricator. And he does gates, fences. He did the gates and fence at John and I's property.
Yeah.
And yeah, so works all over the Central Coast, New South Wales, if you need fencing done.
I'm in the market for a fence.
Are you really?
I'm getting quotes right now.
Yeah. Reach out to Wally.
Yeah. Hank keeps on getting out.
I'm just going to get the proper, Inspire Property Ideas at Berkeley Vale.
I'm on.
I'll get Wally to come and quote you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Brought something fun from a fake website. Clone of a retail brand. Thankfully, only $69 and was able to get my money back via bank dispute transaction. Awesome.
It's good to know about that dispute transaction.
Yeah.
Samantha says, tech-savvy family member got scammed $4,000. The bank called to say they noticed a $4,000 suspicious charge on credit card. Turns out the code was for the authorization to pay $4,000 to something. Bank didn't do anything. They lost $4,000 that day.
The bank called to say they noticed the $4,000. Turns out the code was for the authorization to pay. That's very odd.
So what's happened here, and I've seen this before, is the bank calls to say there's something suspicious happening, but the people who are calling you are actually the people hacking your credit card, and they say, tell us the code that they sent.
Yeah.
And then they take the money.
Yeah.
I have seen somebody lose a couple of $100,000 in a share. They were moving for shares in that exact same way.
Yeah, okay. And that's a good thing there for everyone. If someone calls and like, we're from the bank, we've noticed a transaction charge in your account, just go open your app, have a look, can't see it, what's your number? And then go to the bank website or the phone number on the back of the card if you still got a physical card, go, I will call you back direct. Then call the bank inbound. And if you click when you're calling the bank that it's a fraud thing, you won't be on hold for an hour. Trust me.
Yeah, great.
You'll just get straight through. And then if it's legit, awesome. But if it's not, I'm just not giving people my flippin'. If you call me, I'm not giving you any of my account details.
And especially not a code that comes up on your phone. Never give that to anybody.
I actually remember someone did that to me. When you're driving and you know exactly where you were.
Yeah.
I was going down the hill, about to go over the Hawkesbury Bridge. This person called, and again, they get enough information from third-party websites. So I've bought, I don't know, a Slinky or something from some website.
Of course, it's a Slinky.
Gotta love a Slinky. Everyone loves a Slinky. So they know enough. They know my mobile number. They might only know the last 4 digits. They know my email address, and they called. Oh, we're just calling about your card. We're from. And this was the reason I knew it was fake. They said, because my everyday card that they said, I use the Upbank thing. They said, oh, we're calling from Bendigo and Adelaide Bank about your card. I'm like, and I knew in the background that Up do not make outgoing calls, and it wouldn't be. So I played along, and yeah, you just got to be careful.
Yeah.
Don't give your details.
No.
Rosalie. Stopped using my ING account in February 2024, but still had $130 left in it that I never got around to moving. Whoever the hell is G2ABV shop is, or someone buying their stuff, took the rest. Didn't notice until 6 months later. I'd still report it as fraud.
I would too. Rachel says $350 to Windows support. They still call us once every couple of months, and you bet I get some rage out on the phone to them.
Gosh. Lauren, yes, we had a friend pass on their investment broker to buy some Starlink shares with. Sent them $10K. What? Had a portable setup and everything. Was all a scam. Our friend had been scammed too. The website was so legit. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, that's terrible. Kobe, Facebook Marketplace, $50 deposit for table and chairs. I know, I was so silly. I'd never bought anything on there before, so had no idea. People were awful.
And
my sister just said she lost $90 for a ticket to concert in Facebook group, and they never sent her the ticket.
Yeah, so we're not buying concert tickets from Facebook peeps. We've had a few people put a message in the money group saying, I've got tickets to, I don't know, insert Taylor Swift. Everyone wants to buy it. It's a scam. Because I replied once and I'm like, hey, I'm not posting that. Can I buy them? And then I was like, nah, this is a scam.
Oh, no.
Estelle, I had a credit card skimmed in Russia. Sort of expected it, to be honest. Just used the one card so I could cancel it if it was compromised. And voila, random charges once I'd arrived home. And $150 from TikTok EU. I don't even have TikTok CBA refunded.
Good on CBA. Jade, don't even effing start me. $500 the other day, thieving dogs I was stewing.
Oh,
I need to know how.
yeah. It would be something, clearly. Riley bought a vehicle from a mechanic via private sale that needed an immediate $8,000 repair. He claims it was in amazing condition and I didn't know any better. Didn't even make it home from the sale before the engine light came on and he ghosted me. Got the VCAT hearing next month. Well, at least there's some type of recourse there.
Yeah.
If you are buying a secondhand car, please just pay for the report. If it's through car sales, you can buy the bundle through there. You buy a bundle of 5 and you can get reports. You know, if you're spending 20 grand, let's actually do the numbers, right? If you're spending, we'll call it $20,000 on a secondhand car, yeah, spend 2% or $400 and just get a mechanical check. And you're not looking for wear and tear or stuff. You just want them to pick up catastrophic things. It's like, oh, mate, there's a knock in the engine, walk away. Or took it for a drive, it slips into second gear, so I think the auto gearbox is rooted or something. You're just looking for the catastrophic stuff.
Yeah, and a revs check.
Yes.
We paid 2 times $150 for a customized tank top in Venice Beach, LA 10 years ago. It was crazy, like $5 for a letter. It's a tourist scam and I felt sick to my stomach. I didn't even dare to wear the most expensive tank because it was such a painful memory.
Yeah, if you're ever walking through Venice Beach, don't talk to anyone. They're just full of scammers. Actually, I'll tell you a weird story. My sister was telling me a few months ago, her and her husband, they were at a nice hotel in France or somewhere like that, like somewhere. And they use the internal laundry service, right? Guess how much they charged them at this hotel to do literally a load of washing?
How much?
Over 1,000 Australian.
No.
Yep. It's just taking advantage of people with currency and all that, and they had a go at them and like, no, that's our fee. Like, just because who expects to get that type of bill?
100%. When I first arrived, in Japan and I got a taxi to my hotel and I didn't understand because you sort of get to a new country and you haven't figured out the currency yet. And I just paid the taxi driver on my card. And then I found out when I got home that it was something like $500.
When I was at New York, do you know, I think in Williamsburg side of the bridge, you go down, you get the photo of one of the bridges.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an area, and they had the ice cream truck there. And I was with Sim from Friends That Invest. And I'm like, oh, do you want an ice cream? So yeah. So I went and we got a couple of ice creams and a bottle of water. Went to the, I'm like, yeah, 2 soft serves, bottle of water, whatever. And then I said, I'm paying. And he put the thing down and I tapped. And just as I tapped, it was something like $45.
Oh, wow.
Like just gouging tourists. And then I was about to have a go at him. I still kind of said, you're a friggin' ripoff. And I hope, the real small thing at the top window of the prices. Just like $20 or something for just outrageous.
Crazy.
So, and that's it. Like when you are traveling, you just get take advantage of because you just don't know the value of stuff in an economy. So you just have to check.
Yeah.
Annie, $25 to TikTok. Maybe these scammers get cards and use them to run ads on TikTok or something like that.
It must be. Sean, $4,000 on a Las Vegas boxing event through Viago.
Yeah, Viagogo.
Viagogo?
They got done for selling tickets to concerts secondhand and all this stuff. Like there was heaps of scams happening. But
Because didn't they do a lot of loading too?
Yeah, totally. Well, look, hopefully that has been, I don't know, a bit of comfort in your ears if you're at home on a lonely night, or you have learned, or just be aware. It's always got to be an awareness thing. And I particularly worry, like I'm would think I'm savvy in terms of tech. I know all this stuff. But if I still get done from being a little bit careless or too good to be true, but no, and I've got a red flag, I'm doing it anyway. Imagine, for older people who didn't grow up with technology, and I'm scared.
Yeah. So, Maddie, you are definitely not alone.
No, but it hurts. I mean, I bought some furniture from a website and they went into liquidation, lost $3,000 on a table. And there's nothing you can do. I just won't prepay furniture like that anymore.
No.
I'll give you a deposit. If not, you can suck it. Don't want your flipping table. Well, thanks for listening today. Bit of fun, but also weird, sad fun. You can listen to This Is Property with Rachelle Kroon on the podcast and YouTube. My name is Glen James. Thanks so much, Rachel. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.